Hey guys, we're going to talk about light today, particularly the nature of light and how we classify different types of light. So let's get right into it. This is going to be material that we've seen in the past, but we're going to get some practice with our Edpuzzle format, okay? All right, let's get right into it. So we've been talking about something called electromagnetic waves. Electromagnetic waves, we refer to, this is light being both non-visible and visible light, okay? We think of light as both a particle and a wave, and we think of those two different ways of describing light. We keep those separate in our minds. We visualize light as a particle moving through space, or we think of it as a wave moving through space, okay? But we don't try to combine those two. When we think about light in terms of visualizations, we visualize it as either a particle or we visualize it as a wave. And so in the future, we'll go over the behaviors of light that make that true. But very briefly, what is a wave? A wave, remember, is a disturbance that transmits energy from one source to another location. Doesn't need to transmit matter, but we have ocean waves, we have earthquakes, we have light, we have sound. Those are all different types of waves. And whenever we have a wave hit something, we have caused some sort of change to occur. That would be what our energy is. Energy, the capacity to cause change. Okay, and so the important parts of visualizing a wave is to look at, we have the wavelength, that's the distance between the peaks of a wave. And this is going to be really what separates our overall different types of light. It's going to be the wavelength. So let's take a look at that right now. All right, so the electromagnetic spectrum, this is just another way of saying the different types of light. We have radio waves, microwaves, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet light, X-rays, and then gamma rays are scary ones that make the Incredible Hulk, allegedly. All right, and so what we can see here is looking at the spectrum, we have a number of different trends, dangerous to more dangerous, less dangerous to more dangerous, increasing energy to from left to right, increasing wave frequency, decreasing shorter wavelengths. And so remember, our wave diagram looked a bit like this. And we said that the wavelength was the distance between the repeated portions of the wave, the peaks. We call this the wavelength. All right. And so with this electromagnetic spectrum, let's just start by looking at our radio waves. We'll look at the wavelengths of radio waves. They're much wider spaced. So we have the greatest wavelength here. And then take a look at the other side of the spectrum, the gamma rays. We'll look at the length of the wavelength over here. They're pretty close. The peaks of the wave are pretty close together, so it's a very small wavelength. And that corresponds to low frequency, or high frequency on the side of gamma rays, and low frequency on the side of radio waves. All right, so frequency increases from left to right. What is frequency? Frequency is the number of waves that pass a point in a given second. Okay, and so radio waves, with the distance between their peaks being really far apart, they have low frequency, as the number of wave lengths that pass a point in a given amount of time is pretty low in comparison to our gamma rays, where the peaks are really close together. The peaks of our waves are really close together, and so a lot of peaks pass a point in a given amount of time. Gamma rays have high frequency, and as a result, they have high energy. Okay, so we have low wavelengths over here, long wavelengths up here, short wavelengths on the right-hand side, low energy over here, and high energy over here. Okay. All right, so looking at the particular types of waves, starting with radio waves. Radio waves, we can see, have the longest wavelength. The distance between their peaks is really long. They have as a result, they have low frequency, and they have the lowest energy. What do we use radio waves for? Well, Wi-Fi, radio, calling on cell phones, radar. And we are constantly bombarded with radio waves as a result of 21st century communication. But we have, based on these trends, our radio waves actually have the least energy. All right, microwaves, we're a little bit further on the electromagnetic spectrum, so we see that the distance between peaks is becoming slightly less, so the wavelengths have gone down. That means that the frequency is going up and the energy is going up. Okay, what do we use microwaves for? Well, we know we use it for transferring energy to food, and then, as we said in class, we use it for telecommunications. The way that microwaves were originally discovered as a good way to heat up food was based on an air traffic controller who was transmitting microwaves and put his chocolate bars next to his transmitter, and those melted, heated up the chocolate bars. Okay, so what we have, though, based on our trends, increasing energy, more energy than radio waves, bigger frequency, the number of peaks of the wave that pass a point in a given second is greater than in radio waves, and that corresponds to shorter wavelengths. The distance between the peaks of our waves is shorter. All right, then we have infrared. We know infrared from remote controls, also from being able to see in the dark with night vision, or the aliens from Aliens versus Predator. All right, again, infrared is a little bit further to the right on our spectrum. That means shorter wavelength, the distance between peaks is going down. Frequency, as a result, is going up. The number of peaks that pass a point in a given second has increased, and that means we have more energy than microwaves or radio waves. Okay, then we have visible light. We have Roy G BIV. Roy G BIV is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Okay? And if you look at the spectrum of visible light, well, that starts with red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Okay? And again, that's, the wavelengths are decreasing here. The distance between peaks is decreasing. The energy is increasing as the frequency goes up. We can remember that frequency and energy go up together from that silly example of Mr. Meller doing the wave in class. And when he went to higher and higher frequency, when he did this faster and faster, the energy required is really tiny. The energy went up as frequency went up. The number of peaks that pass a point in a given second increases. All right, then we have electromagnetic waves in the form of UV rays, ultraviolet. Again, frequency has gone up more between violet and ultraviolet. We use these to look at crime scenes. As we have bodily fluids illuminate under UV, we can use it to kill germs. It can cause skin cancer, not very nice. But again, our trends are increased energy, increasing wave frequency, decreasing wave length. All right, X-rays, next step up, same stuff. We can use them to see bones. Frequency has gone up, wavelengths have gone down, energy has gone up from our trends overall. It's getting more and more dangerous. Finally, we have our gamma rays. Gamma rays are the most energetic. They're furthest to the right. They have the highest frequency overall, and they have the shortest wavelengths. When gamma rays come to Earth, for the most part, they tend to be absorbed by our atmosphere, so we don't have to worry too much about being hit by gamma rays from space. But we very much do not want to get hit with gamma rays, as they have the most energy, the most capacity to cause change. They're the most dangerous overall. All right, so to wrap up, the energy of light depends on the frequency. We would see that ultraviolet light has greater and greater frequency. The number of these peaks that pass a point in a given second is greater than something like a radio wave, which has a much lower frequency. That's like doing the wave dance move very slowly. And so our general trend is that the higher frequency of a wave means higher energy content. And the way that we separate the different types of light, visible and non-visible, goes off of this frequency term, which is related to the wavelength of light. Okay, so it's the distance, wavelength is the distance between peaks of the wave visualization of light. All right, finally, a point about the speed of light. We've been talking about frequency. Frequency is not to be confused with speed. Speed is distance over time, but frequency is the number of wave peaks that pass a point in 1 second. Okay, and speed we know is distance over time. And so this gets interesting because we talk about wave as light as a wave or light as a particle. And so when we talk about speed of light, we're like, okay, it's easiest to think of light as a particle when we're talking about speed of light because we can easily track how a particle moves through space, but it's less easy to visualize, how is a wave moving through space. Okay, but the general speed of light is 3 times, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. This is the fastest known speed that we're aware of in the universe. And then eventually light slows down when it goes through different materials. And finally, a light year is a distance that light travels in 1 year. And so our nearest star is Proxima Centauri. In order to get to Proxima Centauri, it takes light 4.2 years to get there. So we'd call that a distance of 4.2 light years. That's insanely far. That's incredibly far. All right, well, that's it for today. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Bye.